Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see behind me, I am well on my way with my cabin project here. I'm going to continue on it here today. Last time around, we got these 3 posts in on this side and then 3 more posts in on the other side. These posts are going to receive a beam that's going to then hold the rafters, which will run off that wall onto the beam. So that's what we're going to be focusing in on here today. If you look around here, it is still relatively early in the morning. But that is not fog you're seeing. The wildfires here in Canada are still going strong, and well, today's one of those days where the wind has shifted and the wind is blowing the smoke in super heavy. And so it's not exactly the most pleasant air condition out here, but we'll make the best of it. Anyways, this is what we're up against. First and foremost, we're going to take this one beam that I still need to debark, and we're going to do just that. So this beam will end up on top of those posts in a few minutes. In order to take the bark off this, I'm heading back to my trusty angle grinder that many of you guys have seen me use before. There it is there. So that's the 9-inch Makita. On the bottom, this is where the magic happens, and you might have seen this before as well. That's my log peeling disc. And it's quite dirty because I do use this quite a bit. There's the 3 blades that stick out the bottom. In just a minute, we will get things fired up. And how we're gonna bring power to that, I'm hoping, is with that back there. That's the Bluetti AC 200 Max. That right there has replaced my old gas generator, which doesn't really work that well. And this has made things super quiet out here and super reliable. So we're gonna put it into action again today. Let's just see what battery power we're starting with. I use this quite a bit. We just turned the power on. You can see I'm plugged in there to one of the 4 outlets that fit. You've also got this outlet if you need it for a different piece of equipment. So I'm right at 89%. I'm gonna turn AC to on in just a minute, and then we'll go ahead and get down to work. So that's what I'm gonna use here today. Once I get that debarked, I'm going to bring it up there, as I mentioned. Then we gotta cut some rafters. I've got a bunch of lumber here already cut. This is what is this? 2x6, so it's 1.5 inch thick by 6 inches wide. I cut this on the sawmill recently. This is all red pine. So we'll get those put up there. Then we'll repeat the process over here. And obviously, if you have a look here, the posts are not exactly in line yet. I haven't tampered this down solid yet, the soil that is. So we'll do that once we get the beam on there. That way we can ensure that the posts are lined up on the beam where they need to be. We'll plumb it up, and then we'll put the rafters up. So that's what we're up against here today. Glad you guys are all here to join me. Here we go. If you guys haven't seen this thing is no joke. You really got to have the equipment on here. The wood chips are going to absolutely fly off of this, which is some of the fun. Here we go. Guess I should turn it on, shouldn't I? Can't go wrong there. This log is real green, by the way. I just cut it down not too long ago. I tell you, that's a beautiful thing. That bluetti obviously didn't have any problems. And that's a good thing, because I like to have the portability with that thing. Sometimes I'm taking that out to the woods and I have no electricity. If I can bring that thing along and power it, very convenient. Anyways, that beam's done. We just need to get it into place now. I'm going to use the forks in the tractor, and hopefully that goes smoothly. That'll allow me to hold it and balance it side to side. We'll get it into place. Then we'll use our what do you call it? Screws. What do you call those screws? Those screws. We'll use them. Well, folks, there we go. I'd say that's step number one complete. We got the beams in place and the posts are secured to the beams. I put 2 of those timber screws into place, and one thing I did forget that many of you mentioned, I forgot the bar soap. I planned on bringing it out here to wipe on the timber screws to make it easier to secure, but that didn't happen, so we got it done nonetheless. One thing you probably didn't see me doing was using that bluetti. I'm using that for a number of things. You've seen me use it for my coffee maker, the peeling disc on the grinder. I also use it quite a bit for charging my batteries. That way when I'm out here, I can always keep one on the charger. Those batteries are getting old and those tools are even older. So looking at this side, I'd say it looks equally as good as the other side. I have one rafter cut out already. I took some measurements, I cut that rafter, and if that fits, that's going to become my template. I have a feeling it's not going to fit 100% everywhere, just because the posts weren't put in at the exact same distance from the wall here on the actual the log structure. And that's just the reality. As I was digging holes, I was trying to position it, but I don't think it got exactly perfect. So we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll make some adjustments to the template as required. Use the bluetti over there to run the circular saw and cut the rest of the rafters. Here we go. Okay, well, here's what I've cut already. You can see the bird's mouth has been cut here. This will sit on the top of that wall. That's a plumb cut. And up here, the other end will sit on that. You can have a look there. See the flat part on the bottom? That'll sit up there. Keep in mind this is green lumber, so this is pretty heavy still. T for template. One thing if you're doing rafters, and you guys can obviously do whatever you like, but what I do is I never use the board I just cut as the template for the next board. If you make an error and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, you can end up with a rafter at the end that's nowhere near the first rafter you cut. So I just use the template to trace, and I don't use any of the ones I cut. Some guys will just keep cutting, and ladies will just keep cutting, and that creates undercut. The guys I learned from on the crew, they were very, very particular, and they made sure that you never did that. They made sure that the cut for the bird's mouth ended on both planes, and they didn't do any undercutting at all. It makes for a well-built structure, that's for sure. All right, folks, there's one side minus one board. I'm just going to put that last board on in a moment. But that is all the rafters on this side. This was a bit of an episode just because the beam on the top is not perfectly straight. And so as I was trying to fit up the rafters, may not be able to see it, but down in the middle, it does this. And so some of the rafters in the middle are actually just a touch longer than the ends. That's going to make for a bit of an episode when I put the steel on, but hey, it's a rough frame building. It's not anything I can't handle. Up at the top of the rafters, I haven't finished securing those yet, and there is good reason for that. I set them into place, and then I started tacking them down at the bottom, thinking I'd go back to the top, and then this happened. It's kind of a sad day. I've had this stiletto for quite a while, and I built homes with it. I built a bunch of stuff with it, structures here, and all kinds of stuff, and well, that's the end of it right there. The handle dried out and it got brittle, and I did what I knew I shouldn't do, and that's I tried to pull a nail out, very lightly mind you, and well, it let go. So back to the old steely for a little bit. I'll get a handle on order. This is what I know you're supposed to pull nails with, but hey, that's how life goes. So we'll head over to the other side, we'll get that done and go from there. Well, what do you guys think? We got all the rafters up on both sides. We got obviously the posts in place, the beams in place. Just have to do a little bit of nailing, but as I mentioned to you, I broke the handle on my favorite hammer, so that'll probably wait until I get a new handle. But I think it looks really good. One of the telltale signs of whether I did it correctly or not is if you can take your eye and follow the rafter line all the way to the ridge. I want that to be consistent. That way I don't have to have a change in angle. And so just looking at it here, I would say we're really, really close, if not spot on. So very happy with that. You'll notice here at the end, I don't have any tails coming off the rafter. I'm going to. The trouble is the logs that I had, they weren't quite long enough, and I didn't want to go and cut down new trees. And so I figured I would just leave them with a plumb cut sitting up on the wall, and then I'll add some little extension pieces, and those are called tails, and I'll have them stick out probably a foot or two. That gets all the snow and the rain away from the building. And if we make our way to the other side, this side was a little bit tricky, but not too bad. You guys can see here's all the rafters here. I snuck a few pieces of, I think that's spruce in there, but mostly red pine, a few pieces of spruce. Had to use what I had lying around. And things went pretty smoothly on this side as well. And if I have a look at it, that plane looks quite nice. Nice and consistent pitch right from the ridge down to the eaves. And so I'd say overall that's turning out exactly as I had hoped, and that's a win in my book. Sometimes things happen and you try to make do with what you can. Well, I haven't had to do that yet because everything's gone to plan, so let's just hope that continues right along. Next time around, as I mentioned, going to finish some nailing. Then I'm going to put some wood up on the rafters so that we can secure some steel roofing. And then eventually, once I get the roof on, or maybe before I get the roof on, I'll head inside and I'll start putting a floor in. You guys can see in here, it doesn't look like too much, a bunch of weeds and lumber, but this will be a wooden floor all the way from this edge into the inside of where the logs are. So that's going to be quite the effort. I want to make it strong because I want to be able to drive heavy equipment up in there and drop stuff off. At least that's the hope. Anyways, that's it for me here today. Glad you guys joined me. Besides all the smoke and the sweat and the heat, it's been a beautiful afternoon. Well, and morning. One more thing, check this out. The bluetti. I wanted to show you guys how much power I used today. So I started at, what did I start at? 89%. Now I'm at 66%. That's pretty good. I didn't use a ton of juice off that thing. And what I did was I cut every rafter with it using my circular saw, my reciprocating saw. I charged my cell phone all day. I charged cordless drill batteries all day. I used my 9-inch angle grinder. It's been great, so very happy to have that. And one thing I got to remember next time, get that sludge machine out here. Could be having sludge while I work. That's it for me. Guys, make sure you get outside, enjoy yourself. Do me that big favor, give her the old like-a-roo, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.